I'm driving home from the hospital where I work, and I'm listening to the Christian radio. I'm listening to Catholic radio in particular, and the people on the Catholic radio were talking about how the Supreme Court decision, the controversial Supreme Court, they wouldn't say the Supreme Court decision without saying controversial Supreme Court decision. That made me wonder if same-sex marriage was not upheld in all 50 states, if same-sex marriage were struck down in some way, if it would still be controversial. But it was the controversial Supreme Court decision is an attack on religious liberty, religious freedoms. It's another one of many attacks that the Obama administration has been attacking the church since, especially Catholicism, since he took office. Just an ongoing attack by the Obama administration, how government intrusion into the realm of faith. It's another example of Christian persecution, Christians being persecuted for their beliefs. And then I turned to the bluegrass station because, quite frankly, I couldn't handle that nonsense anymore. There are countries in this world where just by identifying yourself as a Christian, you will be killed. And you will not be killed quickly or humanely. They will torture you and they will kill you. There are other countries in this world where being a Christian limits your economic advances and opportunities, limits your occupational opportunities, limits your educational opportunities. There are places where Christians are persecuted for being Christians. Being forced to tolerate someone who chooses to live differently than the way you decide is right is not being persecuted. Being forced to accept the reality that other people get to be happy the way they decide they want to be happy too, just like you get to decide how you want to be happy, is not persecution. If you were being persecuted as a Christian, then you wouldn't just be complaining about the president. There would have been troops in your church stopping you and arresting you and kicking over your altar and doing all the stuff that happens in countries where Christians are persecuted. You would not be around anymore to be on the radio and complain about how you're being persecuted. Persecuted Christians aren't out there declaring how they're being persecuted. They're too busy getting killed. So don't give me this crap when you get to worship however you want, whenever you want, in the style that you see fit, and you get to be on the radio and badmouth the government because you don't like a decision in the Supreme Court. Don't claim that you're being persecuted and don't claim that your freedoms are being limited. That is nonsense. It is nonsense, okay? You're not being persecuted. How is it an attack on your religious freedom to allow other people to live the way they want to live? No one is stopping you from living the way you want to live. No one is stopping you from commenting on how other people live. You still have the right as a church not to have gay marriages in your church. You still have a right in your church not to ordain or not to recognize homosexuals as members of your church or to ordain them as clergy. You still have the right to do whatever. No one's making you say, oh, we must affirm gay marriage and we must accept homosexuals in our church and we must, do whatever. So no one has changed your ability to comment on how other people live, to be offended by how other people live, and to live the way you want to live. How is this Supreme Court decision an attack on your religious freedom to practice your religion the way that you want to practice it? And since when did religious freedom become about stopping other people that we don't like from being happy? When did Christians become so mean? Now, let me tell you this. If Islam were set up like Catholicism, for instance, and there were an Islamic Pope, and the Islamic Pope was based in a foreign country like, say, Iran, and he were telling American Muslims not to go along with this or to fight against this or whatever in the United States, we would be rounding up all the Muslims and sending them to Gitmo for sedition and libel and suspicion of terrorism. Catholics get to be on the radio saying whatever they want against the government and the president and the Supreme Court and anyone else. Sorry, that's some weird definition of persecution I've never encountered. Persecution would be what we would do to the Muslims, not what we are allowing Catholics to do and evangelicals to do and all the other Christians to do. They are not persecuted. And you can print that in the Bible because that's the gospel truth. So a couple questions that I have for religious people, and you can post a comment down below. You can give me the answer. And I'm not trying to argue with you or fight you or create any sort of animosity. Just, I would like to hear sincere answers, sincere, well thought out answers to some of the following questions. 1, I would like you to tell me one thing that you can't do now as a Christian or in worship or in any other way that you could do the day before President Obama took office. How has your religion changed? Since President Obama became president and started attacking your religion and limiting your religious freedoms, what can't you do now that you used to be able to do before he was president? That's one question I have. I would like to hear an answer to that. And the other question I have is, how is this decision an attack on your religious freedom? How has your worship changed since Barack Obama has become president? How has he affected your worship in a very direct way? What can't you do now that you used to be able to do before he was president? How does the Supreme Court decision limit your religious freedom and limit your religious expression? I would like to hear sincere answers, sincere, well thought out answer. You can post a comment down below. You can give me the answer. Sincerely, the preacher.